Take a listen to this.
With him being the best receiver on this team, why isn't Byron making a more concerted effort of getting Mike involved in the passing game earlier?
Mike was open a bunch in that ball game. He just didn't get targeted. That's all. He was open. Mike was open.
Nick, what the expression on your face is Bruce Arians calling out Tom Brady there? Mike Evans was open. He didn't get the ball.
Well, he didn't get the ball. Byron Leftwich schemed him open. Mike Evans got open. He didn't get the ball. You know, there's only so many people left to blame. So, yeah, I think he's kind of calling out Tom Brady. And I want to let the audience know something. Yesterday, I had some people in my life reach out to me after the show. Some were pleasantly surprised, and some were very disappointed in me because they said I was too easy on Tom Brady yesterday. And my response was multifold. One was, I don't believe in elder abuse or kicking a man while he's down, so I didn't feel the need to pile on. The other was, not fair. I knew this story would continue throughout the week, and so we can kind of, you know, mete out the Tom Brady criticism in doses. So and the Bucks don't yet have a Mike Evans problem, but they have the beginnings of a Mike Evans problem. Deontay Johnson, Hayden Hurst, Darnell Mooney, just to name a few people who have more targets and more targets per game this year than Mike Evans. Mike Evans is averaging 5.5 targets per game. Gronk, who 6 months ago was the WWE 24/7 champ, is getting 5 targets per game. And if not for these goal line passes where he's gotten a bunch of 1-yard touchdowns, he would be on pace for far and away the worst statistical season of his career. So, Brandon, it doesn't feel yet to me like Tom Brady has developed a rapport with Evans, and I don't think that bringing in Antonio Brown is going to further that Tom Brady-Mike Evans relationship, which should be the most important relationship on the team, and I think Arians knows it.
Nick, I mean, you have a good point here, but you know me, I think you're starting to learn how I like to approach things. I like to peel back the layers, and I like to ask the question, why? Why is this happening? So to answer what you just said, he's been banged up. At a wide receiver, we talked about this 2 weeks ago when they brought in Antonio Brown. Bruce Arians went around to all his wide receivers and asked the question, how healthy are you? One guy said 80%. Mike Evans said 85%. Another guy said 90%. As a wide receiver, if you're dealing with an ankle injury or a hamstring, you're not going to be productive. That's just point blank, period. Look at all the other wide receivers that deal with injuries. You can't play wide receiver if you're dealing with those injuries. Now, that has nothing to do with this question, Jenna, as far as, you know, Mike Evans and being locked down by Marshawn Lattimore. Like, I'm sitting here watching the film right now on my iPad, and this kid is just doing a phenomenal job. There's something going on here between this matchup. It reminds me of my days against Darrelle Revis. I got the coaches involved. I got the quarterbacks involved. I said, look, my ego's at stake here. So a lot of times we're talking about Tom Brady. I can see how, you know, it looks like that and feels like that, but could Bruce Arians possibly be trying to massage Mike Evans' ego? This guy had 5 matchups against this kid, and he has 10 catches, 123 yards. That's 12 yards a catch. So for me, it's more about Mike Evans than it is about Tom Brady, because this guy had plenty of opportunities to beat him. Look at these plays that we're showing. He can't throw a back shoulder. He can't throw a fade route. He's literally strapped down. But then you see this defensive end taking the slant away, so there's more to this discussion. That's why I want to dive a little bit deeper into the film, because this is a big deal right now.
So, but Lattimore, Brandon, was like tweeted out, better luck next year on how he locks down Mike Evans. I think this is Bruce Arians trying to give Mike Evans a little bit of a confidence boost. I don't think there's anything to do with Brady necessarily. Maybe it's like you know, one of those like Russian dolls. Like it's inside the Brady criticism and inside the Byron Leftwich criticism and inside the Mike Evans criticism is actually a shot at Lattimore. You have to go really far down, Bruce Arians. So Nick, I think this is just all about you know, Arians trying to boost him up and trying to take a shot at Lattimore.
Yeah, I'm going to go,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to go Occam's razor. I'm going to say the most obvious solution is probably the right one. I'm going to say that Bruce Arians, who in their first matchup of the year, when Brady threw 2 picks against the Saints, criticized Brady and then walked it back. And then in their next matchup against the Saints, their biggest game of the season, when Brady threw 3 picks, he seemed to me to be defending Leftwich, defending Evans, and putting the blame at the feet of Brady. Now, maybe it's all some mind meld manipulation, and again, I haven't broken down, and to be totally honest, I'm not really capable of breaking down the coach's film, certainly not the way Brandon is, to see how many times Mike Evans was open. But Brandon, I do think, sure, or Wilds or Jenna, you 3 all can do it. I am a blind man in the woods on that. But I do think, Brandon, let me postulate this without having broken down the film. Mike Evans is not running a ton. He's running some, but he's not running a ton of intermediate routes. He is a deep down the field threat, among other things. And when Brady is getting pressured, and he was getting pressured in this football game, he is not waiting for plays to develop. He is not waiting for a guy, you know what I mean, to get open on a deep post. He is, if he sees the pressure, he is looking to his check down, he is looking to his slot, he is looking to his tight end. So I wonder if some of this was Tom Brady's eyes move from upfield to downfield when Arians is watching the film earlier than he would have liked, because Cam Jordan was pass rushing, because he was dealing with rushers at his feet, and he just wanted to get the ball out of his hands. Like, to me, that's a very viable and plausible possibility from this football game.
Makes sense.
It could be, Nick, but there's so much to it. I was actually having this conversation with B-Mac and Patrick Peterson last night on their podcast, breaking down this very matchup. And there's so much more to it. And I actually dove into my matchups against Patrick Peterson. I dove into my matchups against Darrelle Revis. I would literally go to my quarterback, Matt Moore at the time in Miami, playing on Monday Night Football. Darrelle Revis ended up taking a slant route. He picked it off, and I think it may have even been a pick 6, like 99 yards. And I was so ticked off because all week I was preparing for this very route. I told Matt Moore, I was like, Matt, my feet has to match up with your feet. I'm going to have a millisecond of time where I'm going to be open, and you have to be on point. Soon as my left foot plant and hit the ground, you have to let the ball go, because if you don't, the ball's going to go the other way. I'm going to come off, I'm going to work him, I'm going to chutter, and then I'm going to take off. As soon as I take off, the ball got to be in the air. He was off by just a hair, and the ball went the other way. Now everybody's looking at me saying Brandon got shut down against Darrelle Revis in the red zone, but the reality was I beat the guy. And we talked about it all week. So there's so much more when you go to the individual matchups. You got the play caller putting you in position, and also, Jenna, the quarterback, right? Like, we have to be on the same page. So Tom Brady, to me, why aren't you guys using the back shoulder? Why aren't, as far as in the field, not red zone, because Lattimore has his number down there, but why aren't you just throwing the ball up and letting this guy go make a play?
I think there's one other avenue here to look at, which is, and Wilds, I'll throw it to you quickly on this. Everyone remembers Brady's year with Moss. He had more than 1 year, but the magical year in 07. But that was when Randy Moss's stock was an incredible low. The Patriots were able to buy incredibly cheap, and it worked out as well as any quarterback-wide receiver combo ever has. Aside from that year, Bill Belichick, even before the weapons were all awful and the offense had fallen apart, never prioritized a Mike Evans type of receiver. He prioritized slot receivers. They had a litany of great ones there. Tight ends, running backs who can catch. So I do think, Wilds, it's possible that even though, and I know everyone says Nick hates Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. No one disputes it. It's possible that even as the greatest quarterback of all time.
Doesn't mean you don't like him. Doesn't mean you don't like him.
Right. Okay, sure. But the point is that even as great as Brady has been his entire career, Wilds, that his particular skill set has never matched up perfectly with Mike Evans' skill set. And maybe that's why the Patriots, aside from Moss, never targeted this type of receiver in free agency or the draft. And what we're seeing right now is, who is Brady finding? Scotty Miller, Gronk, the various tight ends they had on the roster previously before injury. Like, I think
Similar
that
to the
is
kind of weapons they had in
something
New
you've
England. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think maybe they had those weapons in New England, not just by coincidence, but with Brady and McDaniels being with Belichick and McDaniels being with Brady for so long, they understood these are the weapons he can utilize the best, as opposed to a 6'5" monster #1 receiver.
Yeah, I buy that, especially now that he's getting pressured. He got pressured 46% of his dropbacks. He's just going to be looking for, his version of Hall of Famer Julian Edelman out there rather than Mike Evans, scooting down the field, Jenna.
We'll have to look far because I haven't seen him.
He's hurt right now. Wow.
You got it in.
He's in the
Check it off your bingo.
Hey, Brady, guys, Brady might have played his way out of the MVP chatter. Who does that leave as serious contenders? You might be surprised with the list.